Hello, and welcome to Portals of Perception. This is a Portals Live event, and today we're talking about the soul, a companion for life. So I'm with Kyriaki in Greece, Lisa in Austin, Texas, and I'm in Tennessee. I'm Peter. We're all part of the Portals of Perception team at portalsofperception.org. And this Portals into the Soul is a project that was written by, or is being written really. It's an ongoing project for the whole year probably. It's being written by Aviv Shahar, who is the founder of Portals of Perception, and it's an emerging work. It's about our soul and what does it do? How does it work? What does it mean to it? What can it mean to us in our lives? So on the website, Portals of Perception, we have published the preamble and chapter 1 thus far. So we're just going to be talking about some of the ideas that have been brought up. We have a live Zoom event that's interactive coming up in the end of March 23rd on Saturday. So anyone can join us there. And so, yeah, we just want to work into this subject of the soul and find if there's practical ways, really. What are the practicals? What can we know about it ourselves, rather than just these very abstract ideas? So, yeah. So I want to say welcome to Lisa and Kyriaki, and welcome to everyone who joins us. We're happy to have you.
Great, thanks, Peter. You know, when you say the companion through life, I was thinking this morning, sort of a little giggle to myself. You know, it's like they say you come to this planet, you come to this world alone, and that you leave this planet alone. And then I thought, well, if there's alone and alone, isn't it wonderful in that space of the life to have a companion for life? I just love the idea of that. And getting to understand who that companion is, what that companion is all about, and what it can offer to my life. I almost think it could, you know, and I think this is a term that we used on our last YouTube live event, a champion of higher purpose. Is that soul of Lisa my champion of higher purpose? Wow, what a fantastic thought. And how do I then connect to that higher purpose with my champion? So there's so many wonderful aspects of this work to get to know oneself so much better, and to be able to have a decision on how I want to be and what I want to be with. So those are the thoughts I was having this morning as I was preparing to meet with both of you. Kyriaki, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, great to be with you, Lisa and Peter, and discuss this amazing subject that is the mysteries of the soul, and how we can understand better what is our soul. And I want to welcome anyone who is with us. If they want to send a comment or say hi, or add any insight or question, we would be very glad to read it out and to engage in that way. Yeah, and also I was thinking about the soul in reading the chapter 1 and the different functions. Yeah, more questions are being born through this research and through this writing. What I love about it is that it's not a dogmatic writing. It's emerging and it's practical, and it makes the soul a much more accessible subject to explore. It brings it closer to heart, to everyday life, and it helps bring out more and more questions about what it is. And how to really build a relationship, as you said, Lisa, with our soul. And I see Robin is with us. Great. Great to have you with us, Robin. And you're saying, is the soul the maintainer of our body? Oh, that's a great question. I don't know, Peter. And Eleni. We have Eleni with us from Cyprus. Oh, that's great. Hi, Eleni. So I don't know, Peter, maybe you want to answer to Robin, bring the question.
Yeah, let me put this one slide on screen because it's a question we want to work into today because this is such a big subject. I thought we'd just focus a little bit and see what it is. So let's look at this quote from the work, Portals into the Soul. So it says the human is given a soul as a liaison, a companion for life, because humans are spirit beings showing up here inside a carnal form in the earthly ecology. And so when I look at that, I think of, there's a lot of things going on in there. First, the human is given a soul. So that's an interesting phrase. The liaison, the companion for life, and we're spirit beings on an earthly ecology, in a carnal form, in a body. So we've got a soul. So we already being told that we have a soul, a spirit, and a physical body. And to Robin's question, one of the things that chapter 1 speaks to is this idea of survival as one of the aspects of the soul. So it is, and Lisa used the word earlier of nudges, that the soul nudges us, So I think we may not always think of it as the soul, but who is nudging us when we get these insights? Should I do this? Or this feeling that I should go there or call that person, or, those are, we know we have them, we have the experience, but do we attribute it to the soul? And maybe we should be. I think that's one of the interesting questions.
Yeah, definitely. And, Robin, with your question, is the soul a maintainer of our body? I think the soul has so many different functions. And, I would certainly say in my life, I think it's part of the maintainer. And then I love your other question, being a real lover of soul music, is that soul, how did music get the name soul music? I mean, you have electric music, you have jazz, soul music. So the idea of how it might connect to our soul in a way that bypasses, maybe the brain or other thought patterns, it just goes from the music right into the soul. So I think the soul has so many different functions. And that's why I'm so interested in this study, because we can explore so many different aspects of the soul and start to uncover how we then connect to the soul and use the soul, like I said earlier, to be more self-determining, to be in control, to be able to know what we want in our lives and how do we get there. And again, a journey is a journey. I mean, there's nothing that's ever fixed. It changes, it moves, it diverts. But to be asking these questions is just incredible.
Yeah, and also in the writing, in the chapter 1, it is opened up how one of the first functions of the soul is to be a guardian of life, and how it organizes all our inner organs, it orchestrates, it's like a maestro that orchestrates all the functions of our complex, of the orchestra that our complex is. And thinking also about an experience, how the soul is a guardian of life. I'm thinking maybe sometimes we walk into a room and we feel that it's a bit dangerous there, or we walk in an alley in, let's say, downtown Athens, or downtown New York or wherever one finds oneself. And we feel that it's maybe dangerous here, or we have an instinctual sense that we must be careful. And I'm wondering, what is it? Is it our instinct? Is it our soul that warns us?
Mm.
Or maybe that something bad happened there? You go sometimes in a place and you feel that something bad happened there. And I'm wondering, is it the soul that is warning us? And there are stories. There are many, many stories of people that had premonitions about something that bad would happen, and it happened.
Yeah.
Or because something warned them, they escaped the danger. So I'm wondering if all these have to do with the soul.
A good wonder. I almost think of the soul as part of the function of the soul as a sensing mechanism, because that's what I'm feeling, sensing. Coming from New York, I remembered one time, being somewhere where I just was walking down a dark street, a side street late at night, and everything in me was sensing that this is not safe. So that's part of it for sure. Robin put forth another question. An orchestra is the soul. If an orchestra is the soul, the conductor.
I think that's a good question, because part of what's being talked about in portals of the soul, portals into the soul, is these things that we already understand. We know that we have an instinct, and our senses may get on alert when we're in a dangerous situation. That's part of our survival instinct. The example of rushing to cross the road because we've done the math and said, okay, that car is coming too quickly, so we hurry up. We attribute this to different, okay, it's our instinct, or it's our brain, it's our this, but who is orchestrating all that? And I think you could say it is the soul, because it makes sense to me that there would be an orchestrator to it, to all those things. And besides our brain, because our brain does a lot for us, but there's a lot of other things going on that I think the soul would be more appropriate for. And again, it makes the soul more real to say, rather than say, thank my instinct that I made it across the street in time, I can thank my soul, because that's the liaison that we've got. That's the, in a previous conversation, we talked about the word liaison and how it is this local guide to help us navigate our time here on this planet, and all the strange things we encounter, because the nature of life is to always be encountering new situations. So the soul is using our survival aspect, it's using our growth aspect, our learning aspect, and so it's constantly there in the background helping us. And again, I think one of the beauties is to start to think of it and appreciate what our soul might be doing for us.
Yeah, Peter, we talked in what you're saying, it made me think about the concept of integration, soul integration, or maybe not soul integration as much as the soul supporting integration of the whole life. And I was again thinking this morning before we got on this call, well, if we're integrating, we're combining, unifying, blending, maybe amalgamating, like what a important function that would be, to bring all these aspects of the life together on the different levels. The levels like we were talking about in terms of instinct or sensing in of safety, or getting a feeling about something, and going all the way up the bar into the spiritual life, when we're sitting there pondering purpose, how can we give service. So if that's all part of the soul, has this soul, the soul of Lisa has a big part to play in who I am and where I'm going. Oh, thanks for your note, Robin.
Yeah.
We feel, when we're with all of you, we feel bright. You make
Yeah.
us feel bright. Yeah. And maybe that's, soul to soul, my soul to your soul.
Yes. And yeah, and I was thinking also in relation to what you say, Lisa, how special it is to have a soul. I mean, that we have a kind of local GPS on the planet. So if we agree with the fact that with the suggestion that we are a spiritual being, so that we are more than matter and more than our carnality, let's say. So which means that when we die, maybe not everything ends. So it's good that we have something local GPS for the planetary life. I find this a fascinating notion, and I think a proof for that is sometimes you have these knowings from a very early age, or you watching your children, they have a knowing from a very early age, as if they are pre-programmed. And it's interesting because in the writing it says also, you mentioned about the champion of higher purpose as a third function of the soul. So if we have a higher purpose that is related with our talents, with our inclinations, with the things we love, with what unique we are meant to bring into this planet, so the soul will urge us to go there. So let's say if a child is, his soul is flaring through sports, through the sense of flow, through the sense of this well-being that comes with sports. Probably his learning steward will be tuned towards, let's say, basketball or soccer or running, whilst you see other children, they are more prone to maths, let's say, or to writing, because something in their soul, maybe, I don't know, it's a question mark, turns them to that direction, that something they have to do in their life has to do with writing or with writing poetry. So it's interesting that the learning that we enjoy has to do maybe with the things that we're more inclined in. I mean, I always loved music. I always flared with singing since I was very, very young, whilst my brother and sister did not. So, and let's say my brother loved maths. I didn't particularly. so, so,
I didn't like that at all.
so maybe this. That's why it's so important to have many learning styles and to find what in each child is the pathway, is the inroad that will make their soul flare and that will bring them closer to what they were meant to do, maybe.
Yeah. Just to say this, I've done a little research. So sometimes, you have a little child, a young child, 5, 6, 7, 9. And from 6 years old, they want to be a tennis player. Or from 9 years old, they want to be a teacher. I mean, my niece, for example, she has always wanted to be a teacher. Always, since she was a little tiny girl. As a matter of fact, she's a singer like you, Kyriaki. And her mother was like pushing her to become a singer and pushing her to try out for all these things. But she didn't want to become a singer. She wanted to become a teacher. And she's now in her mid-20s. She is now a teacher. And she loves it. And they have found that young people who have something set in their mind early on, have a better chance of succeeding at that because they stay, it's such a strong pull on their lives. And maybe that is something, I never thought about it. Maybe that is something that comes from the soul that pushes us to get there, because that's what our whole being is, is moving, is intending. And then it makes me think, well, what's conscious intention, or what's just intention that we can't even figure out where it's coming from, but there's just those nudgings that continue.
Yeah, and maybe that's why we say in that job that, let's say it's a job that we don't like, and we say my soul suffers in that job, or it could be a toxic relationship, or it could be something that it's forced upon you while it's not natural on your soul.
Yeah.
And we have some more interesting questions. Eleni asked before if we can feel our soul. Robin asks, does the soul look after my well-being? Decide what food to eat, where to go, what's good for us, or what we should avoid, or choose the music we want to listen to. Yeah. This with the music, something is stuck. A song, you listen a song in the radio, and you keep repeating it, and you wonder why this song. And maybe it's a vitamin for you. Maybe it has a vitamin, something either in the words or in the arrangement or in the voice of the singer. And you just repeat it. Sometimes even in my sleep, I repeat the song.
That's why this idea of understanding ourselves and our soul is so intriguing, because this question, does the soul look after our well-being, or decide what food to eat? I think all our gifts as a human are trying to help us succeed. But of course, we have freedom of choice. We are free agents. So we can, our body may say, don't eat that, and we still might eat it. So we do have that freedom of choice. But I think that's part of the reason that the relationship, or the idea of a relationship with your soul, so that you can really listen and acknowledge when it does nudge you and say, okay, you're being pretty persistent about that, or why did I get that idea at the last minute to either not do that or to keep going? I think we can enhance that relationship. We can grow that relationship. As a companion, who are we talking to when we talk to ourselves? And so if we have this relationship, and it's something that we can trust, who could we trust more than our soul, really? Who's going to give us the best advice we could get? If we have that relationship, if we have that ongoing conversation and acknowledgement that we have this aspect inside us that is here to help us and help guide us when we're seeking guidance.
Yeah, with what you're saying, Peter, and I think about the soul as a companion through life, isn't it wonderful to say we have a wise companion through life? That there's some wisdom, not some much wisdom, that can come with this soul connection. Because the soul, we're humans, and we have a lot of different aspects that we deal with, biases and triggers and all kinds of things like that. But it would seem like the soul is direct connected and bypasses some of the stuff, if you will, that we deal with as humans. And we can really trust our soul and the wisdom that it brings to our life. So I'm looking again at this question from Robin about the soul looking after the well-being, and offers, advice on what to eat and where to go and what's good for us. Wow, can you imagine having a mechanism, a partner, a companion that can offer you those wisdoms day in and day out, anytime when you just go deeper within and say, you know, what should I be doing? What should I be eating? And it's really funny because I'm very conscious about nutrition. It's one of the things that, I'm really into. And I've always said that I can walk up to something and I can look at it, almost hold it in my hand, and something in me will say, no, no, no. And I'm just thinking now that that's probably the soul that knows, even without smelling it, or tasting it, that that's not good for me at that moment. So I just thought of that. That was an aha moment. So thank you, Robin. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to go to a dentist that would, he had different compounds to make a filling. So he'd have me hold one and do an arm test on me to see what my reaction was. Do you want this filling or do you want this filling? And usually there was one type that was better, whatever it's made of, whatever the combination of things was that my body responded to. So who is making that decision? Who's making that reaction? Again, we might say it could be the brain. Is it the nerves? Is it? I bet it might be the soul that's making that determination of this fits with the body better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The whole idea of kinesiology, I think, is what you're talking about,
Yeah.
is probably so related. Yeah, yeah. So another question here. Why do they say, may the Lord have mercy on your soul?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one, Robin. And I just want to say to people who might have joined us at this moment that we are on a Portals Live, and we are exploring the first threads from the first subject on portals into the soul, a threefold orchestration. And we welcome you to say hi and also to pop any question or comment. I wanted to also, maybe it relates with Robin's question, to say that we're giving this soul, this liaison, let's say, or can say it as a GPS, we can say it as a local guide, we can say as an inner voice, we can imagine it as an inner voice that speaks to us. No, but I was thinking, can we program it? When you were saying about diet, because I'm not very good at restraining myself, like you, Lisa. So I was wondering whether we can program it or whether we can further develop it or further refine it or further tune to it or grow it, because there are in many traditions this idea that he is a big soul. Let's say for the big people, for the great people in history, they call them big souls. So maybe it has to do with this have mercy on your soul. It's maybe we have diminished our soul from what it should be, which I think that will be dealt in chapter 2 when we will speak about the ghost and the compensatory act of the soul. So this is usually said to someone who, let's say, has done something wrong, and maybe they have diminished their possibility, whilst other people, we call them big souls. So I'm wondering, okay, we have the standard soul that is given to us as a functionary, but what we do with it maybe either grows it or diminishes it or makes it suffer or makes it flare. So we obviously can do things with our soul. So it's not, let's say, just and how to best use it. How to best use it. Let's say it's an organ or it's a functionary, but we can do things with it.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating idea about programming the soul. And it makes me think, how do we connect to the soul and then through conscious intention work with the soul? Because I keep going back to the idea of the soul as our companion. So I don't want to feel like my soul is just leading the way. I want to feel like my soul and I are companions in making decisions, setting forth my conscious intentions, if you will, so that almost together, with the wisdom and the guidance of my soul, that we're skipping down the pathway of life, if you will, joyously making these life decisions, whether they're little ones or big ones.
I think that's probably an important aspect is do we respond to those nudgings? Because if we do, it's like anyone else. If you respond well to something, you'll get more of it. One of the things that I started doing years ago was whenever I'd remember something, like say before I walked out of my house, I remembered to grab this thing that I needed, or didn't forget my keys, or whatever it might be. But every time this system, this life reminded me before I got out too far away and it was too late, I thanked myself. I said, thanks for that. I appreciate it. And I found that over the years, it's almost automatic. I'm always reminding myself of something, and it works much better than it ever used to. And that's just one way. But I do think that is part of that relationship. If you listen to the nudgings, have a conversation about it with yourself, and encourage your soul, because the idea that we know that we can use words very casually. Like we can make a mistake and say, wow, that was really stupid. But who are we talking to? We may be talking to our soul. And then, and so we're telling ourselves in repetition, oh, I'm not good at that, or I don't like that, or all these things. So it makes me think this relationship, you'd want to be very kind of conscious about the communication, just as you would anyone you respect. How you would keep the way you speak to a certain level. And we might want to do that with our soul. Probably most of us are pretty casual and cavalier with how we talk to ourselves. I know I can be. So I like this idea of updating that idea,
Yeah, great point. Great point. It goes back to the fact of saying, I'm getting old, or I'm old. And if you keep telling yourself, I'm getting old, or I'm old, then of course you're going to become old or feel old, or, I'm stupid, or I'm this, I'm that. And that's such a great point. Because, as we go through life, a lot of my friends now, are in their 60s, 70s, and everybody's talking about how old they're getting. And I'm talking about how young I'm getting, because that's what I'm trying to instruct my soul to feel, that, I'm young. Okay, so I get a little ache in the knee, have a little sore knee. But really, it's like the stories that we tell ourselves. And so the communication between the soul and the life goes both ways. So as the soul is guiding us, maybe we are guiding the soul. And if I'm telling my soul I'm smarter, or I'm younger, or I can make better decisions, perhaps my soul can hear me and support me in that.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think the dialogues with the soul, a whole theater could be written, a whole monologues and that we do with our soul. And I was thinking how important, and maybe it relates also with the question from Robin, how to encourage my soul, what it was about the relationship with the planet. Um, and I was thinking that sometimes when we feel stressed, maybe our soul needs to take a breath. It needs sometimes of a walk in the country, or a swim in the sea, or just to sit and do nothing, just to be in silence and do nothing, which is maybe a breath for the soul. If the soul does all these things, keeps us alive, keeps all the organs alive, keeps our intentions, orchestrates all the things we have to do during the day, also pushes towards our purpose, keep learning things and updating our memory and our files of knowledge and experience, and keep us orchestrating the sleep, being awake, eating, meeting friends, relationships. Okay, maybe sometimes it deserves, it deserves to breathe. It deserves to have some relaxed time, and maybe spaces of void, maybe spaces where it is appreciated, um, and it's left with with not so many tasks, and appreciating and saying thank you. So that was a great instruction. I'll try to do it to my soul, to say thank you more often.
Well, in these times, we always hear about multitasking, and we've got to do 5 different things at the same time. But really, what you just described, the soul really is our multitasker. It's managing the immune system, it's managing the heartbeat, it's managing the circulation, how the kidneys work, all these things. And it's also telling us how to, what we can do next to grow and accomplish something, how we would take this path rather than that path. So it's constantly multitasking for us. And again, if we let that do the multitasking instead of us personally in our brain trying to do the multitasking, maybe we'd be a lot more efficient. We'd rely on the soul because the soul is designed for the multitasking, and we can listen to that and check in with our soul and say, okay, what's going on in this area, and how can we, what do I need to pay attention to here? Again, as you're saying, it's this companion. If we really think about it as this companion, um, uh, just as if you were with another person, you share your thoughts, your worries, your aspirations, and you do all that. And but raising it to the level of a consciousness that I'm having this relationship with my soul, I think it's sounds very powerful, and I think there's something healing in it because most most of my life I don't know that I have any relationship with my soul, but if it's doing all these things for me and I've been ignoring it, it seems like it would be very healing just to say thank you, every day. Say thank you for another day. Thank you for getting me this far. Thank you for all the things that we've accomplished. Um, so yeah, it's there's so much to it, and it could just keep growing and growing. How you think about
And with what you're saying, Peter, not to cut you off, did I cut you off?
it.
When you're saying about this relationship, well, I was just thinking about, like, if I have a relationship with someone, another person, there's respect, there's communication. I rely on them to be trustworthy. So if you look at all the different aspects of a good relationship, and then you start to develop that with yourself, wow, what a gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And Robin says soulmates. Well, that's
Exactly.
another. Maybe you are soulmates with your soul. And I was thinking practically, there are sometimes these problems that you cannot solve. You simply cannot solve them. I mean, there's a life issue, there's maybe a problem in the family or at work, and you just can't cope with it. It's just too much for you, or you don't see the solution. And often, maybe if you give it to your soul, maybe this is what you were saying, Peter, to trust that your soul will solve this. And it's often, at least it happens to me, that if I sleep on it or I don't rush to do it, and I allow the intelligence to build in a way, it's like my soul makes a kind of click, 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 click. I don't know, something, and it might be the brain, or I don't know. But 3 days after, the solution is more possible. It's like something happens, and what seemed like a big mountain, after 3 days is not such a big mountain anymore. It's maybe a hill. I'm wondering if the soul has to do with this. Maybe.
At Kyriaki, that makes me think about the whole aspect of meditation, which has been around for so many centuries. So when you're meditating, are you speaking to the soul, connecting to the soul? It was brought up maybe to give the soul a little rest. So maybe we're giving the soul rest. I know I have a meditation where I go throughout the whole body, and I go through each, from the little tiny toe all the way up through all the legs, both the legs, the trunk of the body, the shoulders, the head. And I acknowledge each part of the body. So perhaps that's like connecting with the soul, giving acknowledgement and offering it rest and relaxation. So yeah, that's a really interesting aspect. Hi, Perry. We have Perry Martin with us. So Perry says, a relationship we never knew we had. I think you meant knew we had until when? So yeah, maybe this relationship with the soul is just starting to flourish more and more as we start to think about it. And maybe our soul hears us. Maybe your soul hears us, giving it this wonderful, wonderful focus, and it's responding. It's like feeling very wanted and needed and respected. So that's great. That's great. Thanks, Perry. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, a relationship, sometimes you are in a room and let's say you love singing like me, and there are 100 people in the room, and you find yourself speaking with another person who is also a singer. Did that ever happen to you? Did this ever happen to you? Or I have a friend who is a photographer, and she always meets other photographers. I don't know how this happens. It's like maybe it has to do that the souls of the people find each other, tuned to each other. The ones who are tuned to the same purpose, or love the same thing, they find each other somehow. And I'm wondering if this has to do with the soul, maybe.
Well, it's that nudge to help you fulfill and become the best of what your best potential. I've been a fan of music my whole life, and I've always been fascinated by how these bands that become very famous and make great music, how they meet in high school or they meet on the street corner, and these 3 or 4 or 5 people just come together. It's totally seemingly by magic or divine intervention, and they go on to create 10, 20, 30 years of amazing work. And so there's something going on with that. And again, something that we don't maybe always associate with our soul, but part of the scanning that our body can do in a crowd, in a room, could find our soulmate, in terms of a partner, could find the frequency of another musician if you're a musician. That's very interesting.
Yeah, but then very often, there is this reality which is also highlighted in the chapter 1 of the Portals into the Soul, the threefold orchestration, that because the life today, especially in the West, but also everywhere, I think, is very much directed towards economic success, and it's in a way captured by materialism, you can say. So very often, all these natural talents of our soul are being suppressed, and or are being directed to making a living, which is an honorable thing to do. We all have to do it. So this is another question. I think for me, it's there's always this part in adolescence where you see that a lot of children are directed away from their natural inclination and their natural talent, and it's sad, really, because I think the world solutions will come from people who fulfill their soul's uniqueness in a way. I think the great people, were people that really, really found and tuned early on to their, or later maybe, to their natural inclination of the soul. So, yeah, that's a big
Well,
one.
That reminds me, there's a great section in chapter 1 of Portals into the Soul. It's on our website. It's a practice where you can take time with yourself or with another person. You could do it with a family member or friend, and it walks you through how to kind of reconnect to some of the things that light your soul up, really, from part of your history, and a way to think about it. We often judge our past and our future because of traumatic events in our life, but the soul is dealing with the best of us, and wants to deal with the best of us. So one of the ways we might reconnect with our soul is to reconnect with the things that really make us happy, bring us joy, light us up. Whether it's a subject of music, playing an instrument, but something that we've had from earlier in our life. So I would say to anyone listening here, go to the website portalsofperception.org and just check out the in chapter 1, this practice of reconnecting with some of the things that light up your soul. It's very powerful. Again, you can do it with yourself, or you can do it with others, and see what happens. It's amazing what you might discover about yourself that sometimes we get disconnected from along the way.
Absolutely. What a great idea. And I feel like we've just started to scratch the surface. So I hope we can open this up more with Aviv on March 23rd. I believe it's a Saturday. Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have March 23rd, Saturday at noon Eastern.
Great.
Event. It's a Zoom event with Aviv Shahar, the author of this work. So opening up all kinds of these questions and territories about portals into the soul. So yeah, we hope everyone watching can join us. Just put that on. We also have pods. So if anyone wants to sign up just to do more explorations like this, interested in joining together in a way that we can interact with people more directly, and have their voices and faces involved, that would be great. So we have all those things going on in support of this work. And so we invite you all to be a part of that.
Yeah, great. Robin, are you asking how do you access the event? If you are, just go to the website and all the information will be on the website, how to register and get your link. There's a $5 donation, and we will spend quite a bit of time together doing a little bit. March 23rd, Robin. What time did we say? Noon Eastern?
Oh, it's 11 a.m. Eastern.
11 a.m. Eastern. Hi,
Yeah.
Inbal's here. Let's just look at your question quickly before we close. Why my soul feels so happy and joyful when you talk about her. That's great. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Soul recognition, just recognizing one's soul, and it lights up, and, you know, giving it rest, meditating, talking about it, you know, giving it recognition. It's wonderful. It definitely does respond. Yeah. Soulful response. Yes.
Yes. It also, maybe sometimes it takes some more and close conversations. So that's why in the Zoom event we will also have breakout rooms, it will be a 2.5 hour workshop where we will also probably do the practice that is suggested in chapter 1, which it's an amazing technology of how, with the help of others, with the listening of others, you can bring back to life a connection with, let's say, what lights up your soul. So what is the core essence and quality or value that you want to promote in your life? And we have Ursula with us. Great, Flo. Great to have you with us. All of you. It felt fascinating to not be alone, transmitting, although we love to talk to each other. We love our exchanges anyway, but it's always good when we feel your support. And of course, this is a huge subject. It cannot be covered just by one conversation. That's why we want to create more conversation, more awareness, and more value about our soul, our very soul. So we hope to see you on March 23rd.
Yes.
And please register if you can, and you can also invite any friend who you think might be interested to learn more about their soul. Yeah.
Great. Well, we hope to do another Portals Live soon, so stay tuned. Get your notifications on so it'll pop up on your feed.
Yeah.
And we thank you all.
Yes.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Alina. Soul to soul, for sure.
Yeah. And thank you, Peter. Thank you, Lisa. Always great, and for all the work you do to prepare portals and also these conversations.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm really wonderful to be together. Thank you both. Really enjoy our time.